turn it over to our masterminds for today, and that's Kevin Allen. He is BIM Productivity Director at Comfort Systems, and Blake Douglas, the Director of Construction Services here at Applied. And they are going to unpack all things Power BI. They have all the answers, the all-knowing guys on Power BI.
Easy.
And with that, time for you to wow us, Kevin and Blake. Let's see what you got.
Okay, so I'll share, I guess, here first. And let's hit that and share. And then, is that coming through?
We can see it.
It is.
All right. So I just want to start out. First off, appreciate everybody coming in. I did this presentation last year at MEP Force. I figured, why change it? It's another applied software event, just to let everybody know. What is Power BI? I mean, essentially, it's a way to analyze data, okay? Customize reports, dashboards, bring data in from multiple sources. And what are we doing with it in construction? We're always analyzing data. So this takes it, to me, up to another level. Wherever those sources are from, we have lots of sources to get data from, but there wasn't really a good tool in the past to really do that. So essentially, there's three different types, or three different platforms, if you will. There's the Power BI. I guess I could move this out of the way, huh? Let's put that over here. How's that? There's the desktop, the service, and the mobile version. And so, we currently right now are using the desktop version. We have a couple of companies here at Comfort that are upgrading and utilizing the online version once they really get acclimated to it. So what are we doing with it? Here's just some examples. Analyzing our fabrication database, quantity of items, buttons in services, pricing, labor. I mean, the list can really go on here as far as what we can do with this, just analyzing our fabrication database. Can spend hours in this doing it. And a special shout out to Tyler over at Bruner. He actually kind of started that quest off for me, and we went from there. If you're doing BOMs, bill of materials, do your data exports, use Power BI. It's phenomenal, except for printing. But we're all moving to that stage of less paper is better. So why do we need to print it? Let's just get it into Power BI. We've done a lot of research and a lot of data validation here at Comfort with manufacturers' content. So we go to the web and we get price sheets. We can get dimensional data. We can get all these things and load it into Power BI. And then, of course, again, going back to our database, analyzing pricing, labor, different things like that. So I just wanted to present that right quick and, kind of kick this off, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, thanks for laying the groundwork there, Kevin, for folks that haven't seen Power BI before or really know what it is. And I think that a lot of people are in different stages of their journey learning Power BI. So I'm always curious to find out kind of how people got started, what skills they need, et cetera. So I'm going to kind of focus my questions to you around that. I guess ultimately, what was the reason or the catalyst for you starting down this Power BI journey?
Well, you kind of mentioned it there. We needed to analyze data. And we've been using Excel. A lot of people use Excel. Excel's good. Don't get me wrong. It's been our staple in this industry for years. But I think Power BI takes that to another level with its ability to visualize the data, not just in rows and column format. I think that's the differentiator for us. And it really started for us when I saw that presentation from Tyler, and he was analyzing a database. I'm like, oh, we need to do something like that here at Comfort. So we took that, we started with that, and then it's just expanded into all kinds of things.
Yeah, I think for us at Applied, where we started to really realize the value of it was in appending the database, right? If you have the Excel spreadsheet and you build a visualization, maybe a chart or a graph, it's really going to be a snapshot in time unless you adjust the range for that graph. So being able to append the data regularly and reanalyze it over and over continuously, that's where you're going to see the most value, right?
Phenomenal. We did the work. Let's go verify we did the work. And you just go to Power BI and hit refresh. We're done. It just loaded everything in. Okay, there's our hard work. Tick that box.
Yep. So I guess when you started learning about Power BI, you mentioned Tyler's course, or I guess his presentation. What were some other?
Yes.
Yeah. What were some other resources that you kind of leaned on or utilized to learn it?
So for me, it was all online essentially. I got Power BI installed and I started from there. I had no Power BI skills up until that point. And it's been quite the journey getting to where I'm at personally. And I'm not going to say I'm an expert at Power BI by any means, but I certainly have instigated here at Comfort Systems a lot of people who are now currently using Power BI to do analysis with many things that I didn't even think about at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat here. I was kind of the catalyst that applied, and now we've got people that are doing things I didn't even think was possible in Power BI. It's pretty amazing.
Same here. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I recommend to people, one of the ways we kind of started here at Applied was edx.com. That's not a plug or anything. It's a third-party website that has a lot of fantastic Power BI courses, and they lay out example databases that you can play with. It is fantastic. Everyone on my team that's utilizing Power BI has gone through those courses, so can't recommend them enough. So I guess Kevin, as you approach things that are challenging or new to you, what are you kind of doing to learn how to adjust and do those things in Power BI? Are there team members that you're leaning on that you're now hiring? What does that look like?
So far, we've been able to internally overcome most all of these struggles, okay, to date. Not to say that that's going to continue to be the case. But in our evolution, one thing that did happen is a third party to Microsoft is a company out of Houston. I went to a full day course with them. And just like you're saying, they had a set of databases, they had exercises to go through, and it was a full day course. It was free, which was even better. Wow. And so I got to attend that course, and I'll tell you, I would have been completely lost had I not had about 9 months of Power BI experience prior to attending that course, because it was like at least a medium level or almost advanced level course.
Yeah. That
really helped a lot because, and I still reference some of that material today, even though, okay, here's the sad part about this is there's not a lot of people who are training Power BI in the construction industry. Okay. It's all about sales, marketing, analyzing, all of these other things. So we have to take what they've built in that industry and apply it to what we do here in the construction industry. So sometimes that can be challenging.
Yeah, I guess that's a perfect lead into my next question for you. I mean, the construction industry tends to be a laggard with technology adoption, and you get the field guys that, hey, this is the way we've done things forever. Why change? Why adopt this new tool? What do you think is kind of the primary driver and the reason for construction to really start looking at the data and analyzing it deeper?
Profits. I mean, let's just get right down to it. Okay.
Yeah.
Bottom line. Okay. If we can see or forecast with Power BI some event that's going to occur because we're analyzing data sooner in the process, then we've mitigated that risk downstream. Okay. So we use it right now. Primarily, we're doing database work, but we're using it for tracking statuses of models and things like that. So we're using it for percent completes, analyzing that job on a daily basis to understand where we're at any given point in time. Okay, so there's a lot it will do, but bottom line is, it gives us, we hope here at Comfort, and I know there's a lot of potential competitors on here, but we're all in the industry to compete. We're all here to make money, so we're all trying to find out what's that one little piece that gives us a better edge, a better way to know what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, I mean, if you had one piece of data that could predictively tell you, hey, this risk factor on this job, that could mean the difference between thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on a project, right?
Yes. So it's expanding. Just to kind of elaborate a little bit more, some of the people who have started in Power BI are now using it to analyze safety, close calls, to analyze, they're analyzing things within the business that they've had this data sitting around for years, that now they're using it and showing what's happening with that data on a way that we've never been able to do before.
That's really exciting. So I guess, where do you see kind of Power BI evolving in the construction industry? Where do you see it going? What are you excited about in the near term future for it?
I'm most excited about getting other people on board within the industry and realizing, I mean, for most, I think if you have the Microsoft suite of products, Power BI is included. Okay. It may not always get installed by default, but you have it. Get it and install it and start doing something with it. There's nothing better than having a software available to you that's included, right? Let's just start with that. Now, what are you going to do with it? And I'll go back up a little bit here, that the data is probably the key to the whole thing. Mm-hmm. As you know, Blake, you've been here. A lot of other people on this call probably understand this too. But if I don't have good, clean data, it's difficult for Power BI to do its job. It's difficult for Excel to do its job if I don't have good data. So I just want to make sure that, yes, Power BI is a great tool, but you got to have a good source of data for it to be really effective. Yeah,
as the saying goes, forgive my language, crap in, crap out. So
yes, 100%.
You got to make sure that data is cleaned up and ready to go.
Yes.
So I guess with that and your team expanding its use into safety and other realms that you didn't see before, as you're looking to hire folks, are you looking for them to have Power BI skills previously? What do you think about that?
So at this point, I don't think we're going to find that, but especially somebody who understands construction.
Yeah.
So personally, for me, I would rather find a project engineer, a project manager, an assistant project manager who knows what the end result, what we're trying to analyze here, because they understand construction. That person now, let's train you how to use Power BI. What data sources do you want to start putting together? And let's just turn them loose and let them go. Okay.
Yeah.
Versus, in my mind, taking somebody who's, a data analyst. Yes, they might be able to do all kinds of things with data, but at the end of the day, they don't understand what we're looking for, what we're really trying to get.
Right? Yeah. What's the meaning behind it, right?
What is the breadcrumb that we're putting in front of the president or CEO that he's going to be able to look at this Power BI and be able to quickly interpret something that he's had to look through spreadsheets or printed out paper or some other thing before? We can put a dashboard in front of them and they're looking at it saying, wow, I've never had this much data presented to me like this before. This is awesome.
That's great. So I guess that being said, it sounds like I kind of know the answer, but if you were to do this all over again, would you do it the same way? Would you hire somebody to help you out? What are you thinking?
I'd like somebody to help me out, but I think, as probably most people on this call know, there's only so much room in the budget.
Mhm.
So we have to make do with the resources we have. That's what we've done here. And I happen to be the one that got thrown into it to start with. And so here we are. Okay.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I'm an old pipe fitter by trade. Okay. I'm no Power BI expert, but I'm just sitting here telling you, if I can do it, you can do it. Okay. And probably better than me.
So if you had to do it again, Kevin, what would you do differently? Anything that you would change?
I might start classes sooner with going to some professionals to really learn some ins and outs. But just like anything else to me, I'm a hands-on type learner.
Mhm.
I need to be doing it, punching the buttons, making things happen myself. And that to me is the primary way for me, at least personally, to digest it, is to, somebody might show me 5 different times, but until I get in there and do it, I still don't understand it yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
So
I think
no, not many things that I would change.
That's great. That's good to hear. I think one of the things that a lot of people get hung up on is these demonstration databases, for example, and you're trying to figure out the sales numbers for a region in a particular time. It's cool. It's nice to know the clicks and the buttons, but I think if it's more impactful to your job and the industry that you're in, I think the learning happens a little bit more naturally, if you will.
And I'll second that by saying, when I started, I knew what my data set was. Okay. I was working with bills of material out of Revit. I knew what my data was. I needed to see quantities of fittings. I needed to see length of pipe. I needed to get the sum of all of these different parts and pieces. So it was good because I had a data set that I already knew what I needed. I just needed to make Power BI do it. That was the struggle for me. Okay. So if you go back to for those of you who have been in fabrication for a long time and know the fabrication reports, it's similar to that. There's a lot of buttons, picks, clicks, all kinds of things that you can do. But until you learn that interface of fabrication reports, it'll drive you nuts. Okay. Same thing with Power BI. Until you learn, okay, dragging over and adding a couple of fields on a visual is easy, but now start combining, start building measures, okay, or calculations in Power BI. Okay. When you start getting into those things, now you're getting to another piece. It's like, okay, now I'm starting to understand how this tool really works. Yes.
Definitely.
But I think the data set was key for me because I was working with a data set that I knew. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like you said, I was not working with that sales data set, and that's what you see. It didn't make sense to me. But when I got my data set, I'm like, okay, now this makes sense.
And as you start to build out some of the visualizations, you kind of have an idea in your head that, oh yeah, this visualization makes sense. A lot of times you could build out a visualization, it looks good to you, but if you don't know the underlying data, yeah, that number could be right. It could be wrong.
Exactly. Yes.
So would you say as data analytics become more and more prevalent at Comfort Systems, what are you all doing as a company holistically to empower or enable your other employees to start to learn it, to utilize it? What does that look like internal to you all?
Well, so for instance, this morning, we had 25 people on a call, and it was all about Power BI. And I was training across the industry, across the network here at Comfort. I was training on the call 25 different people who are initially engaging or some that have been in Power BI for a while. This was an 1.5 hour long training. So we were going into pulling data out of an accounting system, okay, or possibly, or pulling data from a time tracking system, a timekeeping system, whatever it may be. And how do we link that data together with data in our model? So that was the exercise that we were going through today to get people to understand. And I just did a little mock-up myself, but now they've got to go back to their particular company and say, okay, I saw something really cool today. I want to see if I can do this here at my location. Okay.
Yeah.
So that occurs every week here at Comfort. Okay.
Wow.
So it's a new thing. We've been doing it probably the last month. Okay. So it challenges me because first off, I've got to prepare for that training. And then secondly, answer questions during that training and help people out along the way for that 1.5 hour session, whatever that might be. So different people are sharing their screens. It's very interactive with us here at Comfort.
Yeah, so you became that de facto expert just by default, right?
I hate to say it, but yes, that. And I tell people, I still will tell them today, I am not the expert, but I help you every chance I can.
Yeah. So how are you guys measuring success with that? Are you doing any type of assessments or checking in with them to make sure they're getting the data they need? What does that look like?
So I don't know that yet, okay? Because we've been using it as a team here to analyze the database and a lot of things behind the scenes. This is now pushing out and now it's getting more broader to the masses, okay? Mm-hmm. I just had a guy on the call this morning that he's using Power BI now, which they didn't do before, but he's now using Power BI to look at their current workload for their sheet metal shop and all their potential workload for their sheet metal shop and what their current rate is of productivity and how they're going to exceed that and in what months they're going to exceed that in the next 12 months. And what's that impact going to be on the shop? Can we hire more people? Can we outsource some ductwork being fabricated? So there's a lot of things that are happening. And this just happened within the last 2 weeks with this guy.
Wow.
They've had this data, but they've never been able to look at it in that way. So he's just excited. I love it. I mean, I told him he's going to be teaching me soon.
That's great. That's what you want, right?
That's what I want. I'm like, you know what? Here's a great tool. Let me help you get started, and then you just run with it. Do with it what you need.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I think from the number of people that are on that call and how frequently you do it, I kind of recognize how important it is to Comfort Systems. But I guess on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being we'd be fine without it, we could continue to grow at our current rate, or 10, it's, oh man, we would be in trouble without Power BI and utilizing the data analytics. What would you say on a scale of 1 to 10, you think as far as importance?
It's an 8 to a 10 for sure.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, the people who would say 8 don't know what they're missing yet, right? The people who know what it's doing, they're at a 10. They're like, yeah, no doubt. We'll never go back to the way we were doing this before. Okay. It has changed and will continue to change and continues to open doors that we haven't even walked through yet. And when we walk through the door, it's like, oh, wow, look at all of this. Whoa, yeah. I didn't know we could get this much information in one location. Okay. So yes, phenomenal.
Yeah. If that's not a glowing review at an 8 to 10, I don't know what is. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums up the why behind this entire presentation is it is a very impactful tool that until you really get your hands on it and start to leverage it, you really can't understand the value of it. But once you do, it can be pretty impactful for you.
frustrations start high and then they keep going down as you get better with it. I think it's with anything new you learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Cool. Well, any closing thoughts there, Kevin?
Get started if you haven't already, and reach out. I mean, obviously, we're here, Applied's here. I probably know, I would guess, quite a few people on this call currently today. You probably know me. I can point you in direction. Applied can point you in a direction, but don't hesitate. If you haven't done it, get some data and start just analyzing. See what you can do with it.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely reiterate that. Applied Software, we've done it many times with a number of different customers, helping them understand what their data means, and Power BI is our go-to method for doing that. So appreciate you saying that, Kevin. So with that, Todd, I'll kick it back over to you.
Awesome.